Was it fucking Napoleon that they sent a bunch of dudes to go execute with the explicit orders not to talk to Napoleon?
Oh, so when Napoleon was on the march back from Elba from his first exile, when he landed back in France, there were like, I believe it was 2 times they sent out armies to him. Well, he met with his loyalists and rounded them up and convinced them, we got to march on Paris, we got to do it now. And that took him that took him a bit to get them moving. And then when he actually met the army of the French king, the proper army of France, he went and gave them a big old rousing speech. He stood all of about like 10 feet from them, and eventually towards the very end it was basically like, look, if y'all are gonna shoot me, pull open his coat, just fucking do it. And everyone just dropped their guns.
Bring
They're
your
just
whole
like,
crew.
no, we're not doing it. Not doing it. And so then he got massive reinforcements, and there was no army between him and Paris anymore.
Oops. And that, I don't know why, that just that hit me super fucking hard. And it makes me think about, it's a really hard concept, I think, for us to grasp, that our entire society, you got to think of it, any organization, its first item of business is like an organism, and it's survival, right?
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, you can say that was a big part of the conflicts of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, was the liberal democracies making sure they wiped out monarchy to the last kingdom.
Yep, that was the eventual objective of the First World War. Like, there's a reason why, yeah, people talk about the raw deal that Germany got, and Germany definitely got a raw deal at the Treaty of Versailles. But then you look at the fact that the Austro-Hungarian Empire no longer exists after that war. And you have to go, yeah, who are they trying to destroy here, though? Yeah, they wanted to punish Germany, but then they just completely obliterated this massive Austrian Empire that had existed for like 7 centuries.
Right. And like I guess what I'm trying to say is that our society, the way that it promulgates information, the way that it exists, is inherently combative towards the idea of monarchy. And because of that, like, I think it's almost impossible for somebody raised in the West to have that conqueror's Haki that it takes to be a real, strong man, to have the power of the king inherently.
Well, the question also becomes how much of that is inherent, right? Like, yes, to a certain extent, there's certain elements of confidence or physical strength which are encoded, like your potential to be like a physical freak, a massive, crazy looking bodybuilder or what have you. A good chunk of that is genetic, even beyond the hard work. Like, it's like, oh, well, it's not just the hard work, it's how the hard work pays off. It's like, yeah, that has genetic components. But also it's like, you can have greater potential for something, but if you never act on it, like, you're never gonna distinguish yourself by doing it. It's just not how it works. So when you talk about the idea of like no one having this inherent power, I'm like, well, how much of being a king can be inherent, right? I don't mean like the actually getting to sit on the throne and be addressed as your majesty, like the actual acting out of being a good king,
of having that whatever factor it is that makes other people willing to kneel before.
Mm-hmm. And that's the aspect that's truly important, I think, to being a king. It's like, yes, intelligence is important. Yes, you need to have good discernment. There's the word I'm looking for, discernment. You need to have good discernment. You have to know how to make good decisions. And if you don't possess the knowledge to make good decisions, who to trust and everything. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the most important element of being a king is you have to make people want to follow you. Making good decisions is a part of that, but there's been plenty of kings who make bad decisions or, make a really bad decision here or there, and everyone still treats them like the sun shines out of their butt. And it's not just out of like some obsequiousness or, being a sycophant and thinking that like that's going to get them rewarded. It's like, no, they earnestly still believe in their king and in his ability to see them through.
Well, I think you can see some of that still expressed by the way that people are such sycophants over politicians. Like, look at how, like, there's some people that still are out there just like loving Bernie Sanders.
Is it going to happen? Is Bernie going to still win for the 10th time?
Here's how Bernie's 50-year-old desiccated corpse can still win.
Well, I mean, they did already just demonstrate that the dead are allowed to hold political office.
Yeah. That's the fucking truth. It's definitely, well, I mean, you think about the way that we're propagandized from birth with our the joys and the greatness of, if you're in a feudal system or if you're living under a monarch, you don't matter. But you're an important individual in America and your vote counts.
As long as you live in a swing state.
Well, as research has showed, voting and public opinion have less than a 1% impact on actual policy. So I was talking to somebody recently about, these dictatorships, these authoritarian regimes are more fucking responsive to the will of the people than democracy.
Because the people there at least know the score and know how to get things that they want from their leader. Because they understand that there's not some like actual election that's going to do anything. Like, no, the leader's going to be in charge no matter what. We just got to let them know that, like, look, we're the people you rule over. If you want us to be like good, law-abiding, and productive, here's some things we need from you. Like, say, arresting all of the people that try and steal our shit.
Look at the way that in our society, like, or in America, you're out there, talking to a normie and something goes to the Supreme Court. It's like, nuts. The Supreme Court didn't rule in our favor. They are the final arbiters of law in the United States. And you're like, fucking why? Because those are the rules. Why? Because that's the most fair. Why? Because they're elected by presidents and sit for life, or appointed by presidents and then confirmed by the Senate, right?
Yeah, confirmed by the Senate and then sit for life.
And it's like, that doesn't really, like, that, nothing about that explanation is inherently good to me.
No, and it shouldn't be. I mean, I've run into people who point out how bad that or how like bad that is, or how screwed up that is, et cetera, and they're like, and that's why we need to have term limits for judges. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to do what you hope it's going to do, buddy. I got to let you know that.
Right?
I'm pretty sure that's not going to work the way you want it to.
Well, and that's something else that that I've pointed out to people. Like, all term limits are going to do is create more fucking lobbyist jobs on K Street.
All it's going to do is produce more churn and give you more of an excuse to believe something is going to be happening. And I don't say this to be like the black pill dude. I don't care for black pilling. I don't care for the black pill mindset. I'm a happy kind of guy most of the time. I like to be happy. It's just that the point there is to demonstrate that there's not, no solace is going to come to you from a political solution. It's just not.